I'm Salavalo, and I have been to every country in the world. When you talk to travelers who have seen so much of the world like I have and who have been to all of its corners, you often get stories of arrests and detainments and bribes paid and all of these horrible things that happen when they interact with police. I was pretty lucky in that nothing like that ever happened. I did have some like funny run-ins with police and military occasionally, and so I thought that I would explain like a few of my like best police stories from traveling all around the world. And I would start by saying that my success in getting to every country so seamlessly, not really having any major problems, is probably down to four things. The first is just luck. Most of the bad things that would happen are pretty low probability. To find yourself in a bad situation, you often have to be like the 0.1% of the unlucky people. I'd also say that because most of my travel was to visit friends, and more than about half of the countries I stayed with friends either from my boarding school or from work, that kind of prevented me from being like the lost tourist who like is unhelped. And that kind of is also linked to the third, which is just a positive like demeanor and outlook. I think that maybe entering some of the situations that could have turned bad by being positive, by like smiling, by like trying to like not get into the negative, I was able to kind of like steer the situation. And fourth is just the fact that traveling as a white man with a strong passport, I was entering, and I always enter all situations with a bit of a position of power. And so that really does protect you when you're traveling and prevent any kind of like negativity that can come from that. I will start by talking about bribes. I've actually never paid a bribe. In all of the travels to all 193 countries over more than a decade, spending the most time in the African continent, where most people like think of when they think about bribes, I never paid one. I've been asked to pay a lot, but I always just said no. And I would also always involve a lot of people. Like if someone would ask me for a bribe directly, I would, turn to the crowd or whoever was around and be like, why do I need to pay this? Like they're asking me to pay more. And it never like was a huge thing. Like it didn't delay me very much. I mean, I have been asked for them. And once in Maputo or near Maputo, Mozambique, like a traffic cop stopped me and I gave like a 5 dirham, like a $1 bill as like a souvenir, like UAE money to the guy in Mozambique. In Guinea once, I took like 30 minutes of like saying no at this like forest border that was just like a shack for the military to let me go. In Burundi, when I was at the border, they wouldn't let me like change money. Were trying to like get a bribe out of me, and I said no, and I involved like the women on the bus, and they like made them stop. And I remember when I arrived the first time in Kyrgyzstan in 2011, I was with 2 female friends, and they like went through immigration, and then the immigration officer told me to go to the side, and then he's like, oh, like, can you help me with any like money so that you can go through? And I was like, absolutely not. Oh, and also in Tajikistan, when I left at the airport, they tried to get a bribe for us for some reason, and we were just like, no, or we have no money or something. I don't know. I always just like deny having money, say no, and like involve other people, I guess. But yeah, I've never had to pay a bribe, so that's like been useful.
I want you to come join me as I make 193 journeys.
So most of my police stories then are like really funny interactions that I had with them. So I'll start with the cops in Turkmenistan. In Turkmenistan, in Ashgabat, in the capital city, where most of the buildings are government buildings made out of this beautiful white marble, they are very sensitive about people taking any photos and foreigners even being around at all alone. So I was walking around this park, and the security guard said, you can't go into the park. And I was staying there talking to him, like, oh, like, why can't I go? Like, it's so pretty. I just want to go in and see. And they're like, oh, no, it's too close to the palace. And then a cop car pulled around. And he's like, oh, what's going on? And I explained I wanted to go see the park. And he's like, you're not allowed to, just go away. I'm like, fine. So the security guard said, just walk around the straight, like, just walk on the border, like, from here to the end and then, like, turn right. He's like, okay, I will do that. So I was walking, like, where he had told me to come. And then the police car had like circled around again, and he pulled up. He's like, I thought I said, like not to like walk in the park. I was like, oh, but he said I could do it on the edge. And I was like, it's so hard to know where to go or where not to go because there's so many rules. Can you just like take me around town because you know what I can do? And the cop was like, no, like what, like why would I do that? And I was like, I don't know, like there's nobody in the back of your car. Like I just want to see the city and I don't know how to see it because I keep getting told not to go places. And so he was like, he's like, okay, fine. He like let us get in. I was with a friend. He let us get in the back of his car and he gave us like a 2-hour tour of Ashgabat. He like drove all around the city. He like went into like a grocery store. Like at the end we took like photos together and we had kind of a lot of fun. And it was really random and in kind of oppressive states like Turkmenistan, people are often like afraid of the cops, but at the end of the day, they're also just people, and they were excited to like meet somebody new, and so we had like a good time.
Lenin.
О, Грунтовой, Владимир Ленин, вот так.
Cool.
Стар памятник здесь. Когда свадьба будет.
A similar story to being like randomly helped by a police officer. I was doing a road trip in South Africa with my ex-girlfriend. We were in the Free State and we were driving, and in America, in a lot of places, like you have gas stations on the highway, like on the exits on the highway. In where we were at that time, there was only gas stations inside the cities, not on the highway. And so I kept thinking, oh, like there'll be a gas station soon, but there just wasn't. And so we got to like almost empty, and we were really afraid trying to find so we turned off to go into a town, and the town had no gas station, but had a police station. So so we went into the police station. I said, hey, like, is there anywhere I can get gas or any way that like we could be helped? And they said, oh, it's like 10 miles away. And I was like, I don't think we're gonna make it that far. So they ended up like escorting us. So they drove like in front of us and we drove behind. And they said, if you will like break down, like if you'll go empty, then we'll stop and like drive you to the gas station and like bring you back to fill the car. And we ended up making it, so it was fine. But it was funny because when I tell my South African friends this, they're like, we never trust the police at all, and especially not in the Free State. So I guess I got lucky that they were super helpful that day. Third story is what happened in Tanzania. So some of you might know that I go to Tanzania every year. I have a farm there. I speak the language. And so I feel like at home mostly when I'm in Tanzania. And my last trip there, we decided to rent a car. It's the first time ever doing that. And we were driving through and we had like gotten in a minor wreck. And so the rental company said we need a police report. And it was just a mess because we kept asking like the traffic police. They said, no, you have to go to like the station. Then we asked the station, and then they said you have to go to like the city, like to the headquarter. And then they were like, oh, you're gonna need 3 days to make the report. And it was just like bureaucracy and bureaucracy and bureaucracy. And then what I ended up doing, which is kind of just like maybe obnoxious, but I said, you know what? Like I just started in Swahili saying to them, like, I love Tanzania. I come here all the time. I tell people it's the best place. Like, why are you treating me like this? Like, I, got in an accident and like, I just need like your help. Like, can you please help me? And it was kind of that like switch from like asking them for something to making it clear that I was asking for help, and they ended up like being really kind and doing it for us quite quickly. And they actually ended up, there's only one guy like in the area that could sign the stuff, and he was like on a bus coming in, and so they drove us to the bus station to like meet him and get him to sign it. And it ended up being like kind of a really nice experience, and like seeing a new side of a country that I know so much about. Another example that's kind of similar to that, but maybe even more obnoxious, and maybe I'm just like an obnoxious person who's like entitled or something, and I don't know, I can't fathom my like mindset in this one. But I was in Morocco, again renting a car. So these are all my car police stories. And I got pulled over for speeding. And the cop came over and he said, okay, like, you know, it's 60 and you were going 90. So it was a lot. And he said, so I need you to pay me like this little fine. It wasn't a bribe, it was like a proper ticket, like a receipt and everything. And I just looked at him and I said, no, like I don't want to. And he was like, what? And he like walked away. He came back like with the radar, which has like the speed and a photo of my car, or like of the license plate. And he's like, you were going 90 and a 60, like you have to pay a fine. And I was like, you know, I know that I did that and I was wrong and I'm sorry. And I'm gonna like now go forward going the right speed. Like, thank you for teaching me, but I just don't want to pay. And I don't know like what my mindset was. I don't know why I did that. Like maybe I didn't want to, like maybe I didn't have small bills, or maybe, I don't know what it was, but it's kind of like ballsy and also super dumb that I did that. But then he was like so confused. I'm sure he's never had anybody just like refuse to pay one, like calmly, like just saying no. And so he let me go. So I don't know how that worked, but that worked somehow. And then my final story, like being funny or like weird things happening with police, actually happened here in the UAE. I woke up to these messages on my phone from my bank saying like, oh, we rejected a charge of like $2,000. We rejected a charge of $3,000. Like a lot of them, like 10 messages of charges that they didn't accept. So I called them. I said, thank you. Like obviously someone had my card. Like I don't know what happened. And they said, yeah, we only let like $7,000 go through. And I was like, what? Like that's, and they were like, was that not you? And I was like, no. Like, so they're like, okay, we'll get you the money back. We just need like you to do like a police report. And then once you have a case number, we'll get you the money back and then we'll investigate and figure it out. So I was like, fine. I said, can I go anywhere? They're like, go to any police station. So I was working in Dubai at the time. And so I went to Dubai to like a police station near my client. And first of all, I like walk in and there's like a queue of like hundreds of people. And I'm like obnoxious and entitled probably. But I just like walked up to the front. I said, I think I have a quick question. And they're like, okay. And I told them, and it ended up being not quick because they were like, oh, like this was an online crime. You have to go to this place. And they're like, oh, but because you live in Abu Dhabi, you have to go to like an Abu Dhabi station. And then, oh, because your office in Dubai is in this place, you have to go there. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, I just need you to open a case. And, you know, like I don't know why it's being so complicated. And they started drawing me like a map of like the UAE and like showing me like the different precincts and you know, being like, this is like where you are now and this is where it was. And I get that. The problem was that because I like live in Abu Dhabi and it was an online crime and the payment had happened in Dubai, I knew that like nobody would say that it was like their jurisdiction. And so I actually like pointed at the photo of like our founding father and I said, he wouldn't tell me that his country is divided. Like we're one country, you know, I am a guest for many years. You have been fantastic hosts to me. Now someone robbed me. Like I just need your help. Similar to the Tanzania story. And that kind of like switched them, and they're like, you're right, and they like opened the thing, and I got the money back from the bank, and like the investigation went kind of smoothly after that. And so I think that's like kind of all of these stories, like of saying no to the cops, asking to get in their car, you know, refusing to pay. I don't know like why I did them. It's obviously just like privilege and like being obnoxious. But also I think that like to look at it in a nicer way is just talking to these people like as a human, like not being another like case file, but just saying like, this happened to me, like you're in a position to help me, like please do so. And I've been like surprised that they mostly have. And that leads me finally to two stories where I was incredibly helped by the police. The first is in Rwanda. I had someone like rob me in Kigali, which is surprising because it's like Africa's safest city, lowest crime, etc. But nevertheless, I got robbed in Kigali, and I was in a bus station. And when I found out that I did it, the police instantly shut down the station. They wouldn't let anybody out. They checked everybody. They like took took the people in my bus and like checked all of us. And then they didn't find any, like they had stolen my phone and money and stuff. And then they were like very concerned about the phone. And they, for the next like week that I was there, I would get a call from the police like every day. Like, oh, like, is it a Samsung? Like we found like a Samsung, like, is this yours? I was like, no. And then they're like, oh, like we were in the market and we found like an illegal like iPhone. Is yours like gray? And I was like, no, it's white. I mean, they tried so hard. And that was really nice because they cared, but they also wanted to show that this stuff doesn't happen in their country. And when it does, they take it very seriously. And so I really appreciated that. We never got it back, but that's okay. The final and the biggest story of like why I'm thankful to the police through my travels is one I've told before, but when I was in Yemen, I had all of these bad things happen to me. There's a video called like My Scariest Trip, and that's like all of that is explained there. But at the end of it, I was like at the border with all of these like con men surrounding me, like trying to I don't know, like take advantage of me in different ways. And finally the Royal Omani police, they like stepped in and they said to me like, what is happening? And I explained to them, and they said, if you let us tell everybody to get away, then like we'll help you. And I was like, please, like anything. And so they kind of like made everybody leave me alone. They took me inside. They like gave me food. They gave me sweets. They like gave me like it was like 3 a.m. So they gave me a little mat to sleep on, and I had no money because it had all been taken. And so they asked every single car that would pass like where they were going, and they found me like a group of guys that were going to the same place that I was going, and they like told them like, you have to bring him there and you're not allowed to like ask him for money, like you have to do this. And so they did. And so I am always insanely grateful to the Royal Omani Police for saving me in Yemen. So those are some of my stories of like funny ways and like weird interactions that I've had with the police. No arrests, nothing negative. I like to do videos like this where I'm just talking to you guys like you're my friends, telling you stories about my time in every country. I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, comment down below. I respond to all of you. If you liked it, there's so many other videos from all the countries in the world, so subscribe, and I hope that you all will go out and travel safely.